All right. Good sound. Cool. Okay, yeah, so this is our new thing, the stereo triggered sampler here. And does anybody here, has anyone used it? I bet you have, Thomas. You have, some people have. Okay, cool. So it is, we just released it, so in August, I think, or late July. It is a 2-channel sample player and recording, so it plays in stereo or mono. There are banks. Each bank has 10 different samples in it, so you can like play, select a different sample, change banks. There's 2 of them. You can loop, like. And then, yeah, cycle through samples. You can do change the pitch. You can change the start position and the length of the samples too. So it lets you play any kind of window of a sample that you record or that you load onto the SD card. So the SD card can hold gigabytes of samples. The samples can have any length you want, up to being 4 gigabytes long, which translates to about 6.7 hours for per slot. If your card is only 16 gigabytes, then you only fit 4 of those long samples. But its native recording quality is at 44 kilohertz, 16-bit stereo. Though you can go into a system mode and set it to 24-bit. It can also play any WAV file, so 32-bit, 96K is fine. It just doesn't record that because it would fill the card up fast. Also, if you're doing really precisely timed things, you have a slight amount of latency. It's in the millisecond range if you play 32-bit stereo, 96K samples, and they're pitched up to 4 octaves up. If you don't pitch them up, the latency is very small. But when you pitch something up, it has to load all that data before it can play. So it gives you like 30 to 60 milliseconds of latency, which can be noticeable. So I recommend if you're pitching things up, just use like a regular level quality, whatever. Okay, so well, I want to go over some of the advanced features of the stereo trigger sampler because I think the basic features are pretty obvious. You press the button to play it, turn the knobs to make it go forward or backwards. So the first thing, there's all these buttons on there, and there's a bunch of different button combos you can do. So the first thing is if you can see that it says stereo right there with these 2 buttons. So if you're listening in stereo, you can hear that. This comes out both speakers. If I go to mono mode, I just held these buttons down. Now it comes out just that side. And that comes out just that side. So that's, and then if I go back to stereo, see the lights flash, and now I can play on both sides. Or mono. One side. So you can go, when you're in mono mode, it's mixing the stereo file down to a mono, left plus right, one speaker and not the other. When you're in stereo mode, it's doing the left channel from this side, plus the left channel from this side out here, and then the 2 right channels out here. That's Paul Barker playing a guitar, I think, by the way. So that's the first button combo thing. Another secret button combo is, let's say I have 2 loops going on. Let's say I want to change the volume, the relative volume of them, and I'm in stereo mode. It's not an easy way to do that. So there's this button combo that if you hold down the reverse button and turn the start knob, this is a hidden feature, you can adjust the volume there. And each channel has its own volume. So this is adjusting the volume of this channel. I'm holding reverse and turning the start button. to change the volume of this channel, I hold the reverse. Turn the start position to that. Now it doesn't change the start position when you do that until you wiggle. If you wiggle the knob, it'll change the start position. But if you just hold down reverse and do it, it doesn't toggle reverse or change it. So you can independently just do that without changing the rest of your parameters. So without this, there would be no other way to adjust the volume of both channels because they're being mixed together before they hit the output gates. So that's why that feature is in there. And it's totally not necessary to know to use the sampler, but when you get into it, it's not going to want to do that. So another feature is, okay, there's a gazillion banks. So each one of these is totally different sounds. So you could go through all these and spend a lot of time trying to find the bank that you want. There's shortcuts to finding the bank that you want. If you hold down the bank button, you can cycle through all the colors. Now, the colors show up so well on the camera, but it's going through basically the rainbow. It's white, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, cyan, purple, all the way to gray, which is like a dim white. You hold down the bank button, turn the sample knob, you can skip to a bank. So if I wanted to go back to the white bank, I would just hold it down and spin down to 0. There's the white bank. So since the banks, the way they're organized is by color and then also by blink number. So every color also has other banks every color also has a number of blinks. So there's a red bank, which is a bunch of analog drum sounds. And then there's a red blink bank too. So there's the red blink bank, and that is some loops.
How did you get into the blink? How do you get it into the blink banks? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm explaining a lot of concepts at once. So you can change the color by holding on the bank and turning this knob. You can change the blink by changing this knob.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if I want to change this guy's bank quickly, I could go to, let's say I want to go to orange, or let's say I want to go to green 2. I would go to green and then go to, it's 0, 1, 2.
2 is the maximum blinks.
It actually goes up to 5 blinks, but the default, I mean, you can have only, you can have up to 60 banks. Okay, so there's 10 colors, and then there's 0 blinks, 1 blink,
Okay.
2 blinks, up to 5 blinks. So that's 6 levels of blink and 10 levels of color, so you get 60 banks time. So it can take a while to change through to find the bank that you want. So, you know, here's green, but then if I hit it, here's green 1. There may not even be a green 2 here. I don't know if I've loaded anything. No, it goes back to white. So, yeah, so you change the blink number. I can skip right to like white 2 just by turning this knob. No, I'm not white 2.
3,
9.
Stay away from me. Stay away from me.
That's a quick way to jump around. There's another thing. So let's say I'm going to record a sample. And I want to play it back. There's another bank-related, what do you call it, advanced feature. So, and I also get to show how this thing can record itself while I'm doing this. So this is basic patch for self-recording. You just patch the outputs and inputs, stack the outputs to monitor them. Now I'm going to record
9, 8, 7, 6.
I didn't start recording it. I just armed the recording. So I'm recording into the green 2 bank. I know that shows up as kind of yellow.
Yeah.
But 1, 2. So that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go into slot number 1, and I'm going to do a little jam, whatever. You know, probably better if I patch in my sequencers and stuff, my LFOs and everything, but I'll just do it. And then, so I'm just going to hit record, and then I'm going to
No.
Awesome.
9, 8, 7, 6. It's the best.
Okay, cool. So that's my
And that's-
sample I
Yeah.
made. Okay, and I hit record to stop it. Now I can say, okay, is that cool? Do I want to keep that? I can go. I hold down the record bank button and the bank button. See how it turned green? So that jumps to the record bank, and now I can just
No,
play it.
no, 9, 8, 7, 6. It's
So
You
that's what
repeat
it-
that instruction. You
Okay.
hold down the forward bank button.
Yeah. So you can jump to the bank that the record is in. So let's say I was in random whatever bank
Uh-huh.
here.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm like, I want to go to green too, but I'm even too lazy to be like green too. Because you do this a lot. Like you record and you want to play back.
Right.
So you just hold down the record bank button and the channel bank button, and it jumps there.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So it's a teleport
The
to
two
record
bank buttons.
Yeah. If I wanted to do it on this channel, like this is on this, if I wanted to go to that, I just hold down that side. Now they're all in the same.
Does this overwrite the contents of the SD card? Or?
No, well, no. So okay. Oh yeah. So that's a good question. So it never deletes any files or moves your files around or renames them. The only thing it does, this like write access to the card, is that when you record a new sample, it creates a WAV file and it puts it in a folder. There'll be a folder called Green2 on the SD card now, and inside that will be a file called sample 001 slot 01. That's where I put it. And if I hit another one, it'll be sample 002 slot 01. So yeah, there's no alphanumeric renaming, but you can usually find them if you do it. So it also has its own set of file. It's like a system folder that has an index. It says like green 2, what file name is that? White 1, what file name is that? Where is it located on the card? It tells you. So when you can move stuff around, it doesn't move things around physically on the card.
Gotcha.
So if you're using your card with another sampler and it has a specific naming convention, specific folder or whatever it has, it's fine. The SDS won't mess with that, and you can still rearrange things on the SDS however you want. So try to make it super versatile. This is the release firmware, and we are updating some of the things. I don't think this is a bug. I think it's just a complicated user feature or interface feature. So this is slated to be updated soon, hopefully, where it'll actually scan. It'll scan differently through the direct acceptor. So, but the point is, nothing you record is ever lost. So here, see if I'll try one more time. That's the thing I just recorded. If I'm going to record another one. Okay, that was great. So now let's see. Try to find it. There's the thing I just recorded. Okay, now where's the first thing? Wait, let me save first. The first thing is, let's see, let's get lucky. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, that doesn't work right now. But what is working is, if I have this, I just have this cyan blue 2 bank right now. Let's say I want to fill it up with samples that are different than what I already have going on here. Let's say I want to use some drum sounds, because I want to sequence this, or I want to run an LFO into my sample CV select, and I want to pick the right samples that I have in the right order that I have. So I would go to, slot 1 I want that. Slot 2, yeah, that's cool. Slot 3, there's nothing in there. So I'm going to pick something. When I hold down edit and I hit this next button, it's going through the entire SD card, playing every sample on the card. Whether or not it's assigned to a bank or not, it's just scanning the file system for anything that ends in .wav and is actually a WAV file. So I can keep going until I find the file I want. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what I want in there. Number 4. you know, whatever. Anyways, you can just fill up your bank, make your own custom bank with the files that you want. Then when you save it, when I power on next time, it'll power on with a SIAM2 bank that is the samples in this order. So that's what that feature is doing. It can get confusing, which I'm confused right now, when you have a gazillion samples on the card. Sometimes it seems to put them. Yeah.
How many samples come on the card? I mean, there's a bunch of empty banks, right?
It comes with 20 something banks full, and so there's 210 samples or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, and they're pretty much the solid colors, like it goes white, white solid, and then the single blinks,
Yeah.
and then there's a couple double blinks, and there's a on the SD card, you put it in your computer, in the root directory there's an HTML file, it's called like sample list HTML. If you double click that, it'll open up Chrome browser or Safari or whatever, and it's your sample list, and it'll say like red bank, slot 1, this file, this many seconds long. Slot 2, this. So you can print that out, or you can email to yourself and have it on your phone if you're performing, or if you're in your studio and you're away from your computer. So you can see like what is what is what. If you wanted just to make your own sample card, which you probably should, if you're going to be performing with it, it would just have whatever you had. So you can just put all these files, drag your desktop, copy them, load the card up with your own files, put them in folders. Every folder you create will become a bank on here, and then the next time you put it into the Stampler, it'll create that HTML index file. It's an index listing that you can put back in your computer and see what you had. So super useful because you're like, well, is white? What is that? What is red? It'll tell you. You also, so on this note, if you're using a computer to load samples, if you make a folder and you call it red and you put a bunch of samples in there, when you put the card back in here, it will make that the red bank. If you call it orange, make it orange bank, etc. And if you call it red-2 or white-1, it'll make it the white bank with 1 blink, or the red bank with 2 blinks. So you can set up your folders. If you want to do that, you can set them up so you know what color it's going to be, so you don't have to search for it. But you really don't have to search for it because if you make a new folder, it's going to be at the end. We'll just add it at the end, so it'll be the first empty spot that you have. So, let's see.
Well, this is a really brilliant feature, frankly. I mean, to me, it's like you can remix your own samples on the fly and record them, and I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, you can, if you can basically use it's the playback and the recording simultaneously. And when you do this, you're recording its own output. You could run these, I could unpatch these and run the outputs through effects and things, or whatever, through my whole system, have a whole patch going on, and then run my mixer out, or like a submix, depending on what kind of mixer you have, into here. So I'm basically recording my entire set. You can do that. I think it's more fun to kind of record on the fly. You could get something going, record it, play it back, half speed, trigger it, reverse and stuff, while you're setting something else up. Set that up, go, because it's clockable. You can clock the play and the reverse and end
So you
out.
just have some stackables there. You're just running the output back into the record input.
That's how I do it. Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't have stackables, you could run. You could just go to buffered mode, or if you don't need to monitor it, which you probably do, but you can just. There is again in new firmware things. There's on the list to do is internal patching, a mode where this is internally patched, so you wouldn't need the stackable. So that's cool.
So it's totally in the background.
Yeah. So it's just recording what's coming out the output jacks. It'll be like instead of just holding record and then pressing it to go, it would be like hold record and play. It's like a play record kind of thing. So that's, yeah, again, in the, another feature in the future. You can also like trigger the record. I don't know if you see that, but which is a cool. So if you just want to capture snippets, like I could feed a trigger into the record and the plays, fire a trigger, it'll play both channels, record them at the same time, and then hit another trigger to stop recording. So if you got a clock that's hitting like some crazy kick drum sound you made, you could just fire the trigger, snap it, the next trigger it'll stop too. And you can fill the card up. If you run like really fast triggers in here, you can, 1,000 a second, you can fill the card up with just like a ton of really short wave files too. I don't know what you're gonna do with them, but
Granular.
yeah, but then you gotta like open all those files up and assemble them. So Granular though, this question comes up is, can you do time stretching or time stretching without pitch shifting? Because the way this works, let me go back to the voice bank. Where was that?
10,
There.
9, 8, 7.
If you, on this one, if you
Do not stay away from me.
turn the pitch knob, it slows it down also. So it changes the pitch. So there's time and pitch at the same time.
Do not stay away from me.
Do not
So,
stay away from me. Do not stay away from me. Do not stay away from me.
The main technique that, as I know about, how to change the time of something without changing the pitch, or vice versa, change the pitch without changing the time, is with granular techniques. This can do granular synthesis in a very primitive way, in kind of the most basic way possible. It's not a granular synthesizer. You have to patch it as one component of a granular synthesizer. So, but it's not that complicated to patch, and I'll show it here. Off screen, I have a peg here, and the basic thing, what you do here, I'll do it without patching first, is, okay, I'm gonna loop my sample.
Do not stay away from
And
me.
I'm
Do not.
You want to turn the length down so you have just grains. So, and then you sweep the start position. So it's just playing like it's probably about 20 millisecond grain. And I'm sweeping the start position.
Stay away. Stay away from me. All my bones can be seen.
So, so however fast you turn the start
Do
position,
not stay away from me. All my bones can be seen.
that's how fast it's going to play. It doesn't change the pitch. So that's the basic concept of it. But there's a couple things you can do to improve it. One, I don't want to turn it with my hand because I have a modular synth, so I want things to happen automatically. So I'm going to plug it into a peg that's playing an LFO that's really slow. So I'm playing a...
Do not stay away. Stay away.
Hold on. Okay, playing a ramp up now.
Do not
Let me go faster.
away. Do not stay away. Do not stay away.
Okay, so that's a ramp up. So basically the position of the LFO is the playhead.
Do not
If I increase the amplitude of the
stay
LFO,
away from me.
it goes faster
Oh, do not stay away from me.
and it plays more data
Oh, do not
because
stay
it's
away
the
from me.
slope of the,
Oh, do
of the
not stay
range.
away from me.
So amplitude
Oh,
increases
do
the
not
slope
stay
too.
away
So
from me. Oh, do
Um,
not stay
if
away.
I turn it to a triangle wave, it'll play forward.
Stay away.
and backwards.
Do not stay away from me. Stay away. Do not stay away from me.
Right? Okay.
Stay away.
So yeah, backward, ramp down, whatever. You can do complex shapes, so it plays slower and then faster.
Stay away from me.
Right.
Stay away. Do not
So
stay
the other
away.
thing is like, it's kind of
Stay
weird.
away. Do not stay away.
I can change the length,
Stay away. Do not stay
but there's
away.
sort of a overtone
Stay away.
there.
Do not stay away.
I can make the length short,
Do not stay away from
but
me.
then it has like a warble effect.
Do not stay away from me. Stay away.
So the way to get around this, and this is a granular technique, is you randomize the grains a little bit.
Stay away.
So You actually don't need to do it random. You can just do some other LFO. So I'm going to use the other channel to peg, and we're going to adjust the length parameter just a little bit. So I have a heavily attenuated LFO output that's pretty fast.
Do not stay away from me. Do not stay away from me.
And it cleans it up.
Stay away from me. Do not stay away
So
from
if I
me.
unpatch the
Do
length
not
CD,
stay away from me. Do not stay
ready?
away from me.
you can get rid of that overtone of that red
Do not
with
stay away.
just varying the length a little bit, so it's a little more advanced
Stay away from me.
technique.
8, 7, 10, 9,
Yeah.
8, 7.
So if I go faster,
8, 9,
slower. So yeah.
8,
And again,
7,
if I reverse,
10,
it doesn't play backwards. This is just playing the grains backwards, which is basically nothing. With every grain is just like a snippet of. So,
7,
so,
10,
and I can pitch up, and it doesn't change the tempo.
9, 8,
Pitch down. It doesn't change the tempo. So I can go low and fast. It sounds like a dog growling. I can go high and slow. And like a chipmunk. Slow down. So yeah, that's how you do it. If you have an actual granular processor, and that's what you want to do, that's probably what you should do, because that's like got all this stuff built in, and even way more, because you'd really want to randomize the start position a little bit across the LFO, so you don't get the repeats, and you want to cross-fade the grains together, maybe have multiple grains at the same time, etc. So it's not a granular processor, but if you want to make your own granular processor and use this as one component in it, it does that. It's surprisingly kind of fun to kind of make your own algorithm like that.
Sound design.
Yeah, it's a sound design tool, but it's, if you're just into granular and you want to do granular, like this is not your granular thing. This is more like you want to understand how granular works, then you might want to try those patches. So, yeah. What else is an advanced feature of this? I'm flipping through the manual because all this stuff is in the manual. I talked about the sample list file. Oh yeah. We're on so the edit button. Okay, so I showed edit next, which scans the whole SD card for all the files and lets you reassign the file that the slot that you're pointing to right now with the new file. And then I also showed you want to save it. And if you undo edit show this, you can undo revert. So edit plus revert, it'll be like go back to how you got it. There's another set of things you can do. You can create a window of a sample. Let me go to a drum sound sample. Okay, that's cool. So I had this recorded, and then I want to break this up. I can go, I'm like, this is a loop, but it's way too long. I want a really short loop of this. Of course, I could use the length knob and the start knob to make like a little thing. But then if I mess with these knobs, I lost my loop. And then if I want to change another sample, I have to adjust these knobs for that. So it's not really a good solution. Well, I don't remember what that is. And so there's a better way. So if I have this playing, I can hold down edit, and I can do this thing called scrub start and scrub end. So scrub start changes the start point of the sample. Like I'm scrubbing through the sample here. So if I want to start it. Here, let me give a better example. I'll go back to the voice. It's less useful, but more what you would use it for. I think it was a white.
10,
Yeah.
9,
Okay.
8,
So let's say
7, 6,
I don't want them to count all the way down.
5,
I only want
10,
to hear 10, 9.
9, 8,
Sorry. Okay, so I would go here, edit,
10,
I can scrub it.
9, 8.
Actually, I wanted to say 8-7. Let me go back. There's the start of the 8. And I'm just turning the knob forward to go forward, backward to go backward. It's also velocity sensitive. So if I turn it really fast, it goes all the way back. If I turn it really fast this way, it just went, or it went all the way to 1 just by turning it fast. I can turn it quickly to scrub fast. So here, let's go.
9. 8.
Okay, so there's 8. And then I want the end to be 7. Let's say the end of 7.
1. 8. 7.
There. And I got all the way to 7. I started at 1, I got all the way to 7 just by whipping the knob to the left. It went all the way back. And I went to 7. There's the end. 7. Okay. So now when I play it, starting at start position 0, length all. So the whole sample
8.
is
7.
8-7.
8. 7.
Right.
8.
And then within
7,
that, I can
8.
change the length.
8. 8. 8.
Right. I can still scrub within that, but this is my
7.
maximum window, the
8.
8-7.
7.
So I just took a longer sample and I just grabbed a slice of it, which I assigned. So now in white 2, slot 1, I have just 8-7. You can also make multiple copies of the sample and create different slices of it if you want, and that's the last old feature I haven't shown, which is copy. So if I wanted to put this in, whatever, purple bank, whatever I am, red bank, red 2, slot 1, if I wanted to put this 8-7 in there, I would hold down edit and hit copy, and I hold it down for a second because it changes things.
8.
So now red 1, red bank, red blink 2
8.
is
7.
8-7. And then I can put it in slot 2 also. Copy it there.
8. 7. 8. 7.
Now it's in both. Now if I go,
8. 8.
I'll just do it on this last
7.
slide here. If I go to that red bank now, I can adjust 1. This is,
8. 6.
I'll make this one 6.
6. 5.
So that's 6-5, and this one is
8. 7.
So it's the same file, I just selected 2 different windows of them. So I took the file, the sample, I loaded up, I copied it into 2 different banks, and then I did scrub start and scrub end differently on each one. And if I save that, now next time I boot up, I have these 2 samples here,
8. 7. 6.
6-5.
5.
And I don't have to window around to do that. So if you had like a long drum performance, you could like pick a kick drum out, you could pick a sub loop out of a thing, out of just one sample. It doesn't copy the file, it didn't it didn't take up any extra space on the card, except in its small little index system file where it just says like, slot 2 is from this start position to this end position. It just creates the loop points. So that gives you a ton of flexibility because it didn't mess with your files. So you can still use them in some other way. And if you did want to make a new file of that, you could patch it in and record it if you needed the file on your computer or something. So that's another advanced feature. I guess the last gold edit feature is gain, which is pretty self-explanatory. If you record something like line level, you might want to gain it up. Or if you recorded something really loud, or like let's say you make a little window of something, but it's like a quiet part of the sample, you might want to gain it up, or it's a loud part, you might want to gain it down. This gain saves with the sample. Unlike the channel volume thing I was showing you at the beginning, that is just
5. 5.
that is just
5.
live volume.
5.
It doesn't save.
5.
It's like a performance
5.
type thing.
5. 5.
And it's on the channel no
5.
matter what sample you're playing. It's the whole channel. Versus gain saves with that sample. So you copy somewhere else, it copies that gain over. But it doesn't matter what channel you play it on. Cool. That is, I think, let me see.
I have a question.
Yes, questions?
What's the easiest way to get a voice in there? Like, you can just record directly in it. Can you, is there a microphone that will plug directly into that?
It'll accept line level to modular level, of course. At line level, you're gonna, if you just plug a mic that has 1/8 inch in, and it's not, it doesn't, you know, there's no phantom power or anything like that. So like, of course, it's gonna have to be a line-ish output. Yeah. If you're using a mic, I would recommend going through a preamp thing first, just for noise and signal level. But we were doing it, you can just go on your iPhone and play any, I don't know what I'm gonna play here. Oh, you know what, I got all these Japanese. I'm trying to learn Japanese. It's taking a while. Yeah, you just play from here, right in, slot 3, record.
1おはよ
おはようございます
Turn your volume all the way up.
う2
This is just off my
こん
phone.
にちは
Right, just directly in.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I wasn't recording.
3
Yeah.
こんばんは
There's some basic
Konbanwa.
Japanese phrases to learn, so you should definitely
4
learn these if you go there.
はじめまして
Okay,
どうぞ
so there, I just recorded that. It's quiet,
3 3
but with gain,
こんばん
I
は
can, I can gain it up to a
こん
module.
ばんは
So that's one feature you might want to.
4
So, okay, but you didn't
Hajime
ask
mashite.
about how to put Japanese on your modular. How to put voice on your modular.
こんばんは
We found a really, yeah,
こ
just
んばんは
use your voice memo notes, whatever, you know, on your phone.
はじめまして
Then you don't have to mess with
3
adapters or
You
anything.
just play it
こ
in
んばん
the,
は
And then play it in. So if you really want to do it live,
4
yeah, then you should just probably use some kind of preamp or some kind of, if it's from a mic, something to convert the level a little bit, because, yeah, or some kind of powered mic. But yeah, it works, it's fine. Now, if I really wanted a high quality, so I just digitally gained up my phone signal, so I essentially lost some bits of resolution there. Like, I recorded a quiet signal and you boost it up, all the noise involved in there, there's some too. It's a very low noise device too, which is one of the features of it that we worked really hard at, but still, like, any audio engineer would know, like, you don't want to record really quiet and then boost it up later on your computer. You want to record so a little bit louder, and but as long as it's not dangerous clipping. So if you wanted a better quality, you run through preamp, yeah. But yeah,
I'm just curious about the technology under the hood, because to me, the thing, like you mentioned, the noise score is 0 basically.
well, there's no 0, but yeah,
Well, I mean,
it's
I guess I'm
good
saying it's
compared to other modules.
what you said in layman's terms. This thing sounds, two things. It sounds amazing. First of all, the audio quality is really good, and it's just so fast. I mean, you can trigger it and manipulate it on the fly, unlike any other sampler I've ever seen. Just like how,
Mhm.
how is it doing that?
It uses ARM chips,
ARM
or
chips.
an ARM chip, and which is the technology was originally made for cell phones, like back in the day, like early. Well, there's still ARM chips are still used in a lot of cell phones. I think it's a very popular chip in like the mobile and MP3 players and car stereos and stuff like that. So it's a cool architecture, and it allows a lot of background tasks. So it has a big SD RAM chip on there too, which if you from like old, remember the RAM cards on like your Pentium and the Pentium 2 and that kind of thing. It's those chips. It's the same chip. Like from, you remember, you look at them, they're like this big, and there's
Yeah.
like all these little chips in a row.
Yeah.
And sometimes you could read the chip number off of it and be like, oh, this is a 16 megabits, so there's 8 of them, so I have a whatever. And then, yeah, it's actually that chip, those exact chips. So it uses, and those are super cheap now. I mean, like low quality, and I mean they're good quality, low price, because they are, ubiquitous and not the most popular thing to use anymore, because you can't fit 16 of those in a cell phone. So there's just a gazillion of them. So, and so yeah, it's SD RAM, and it's super fast RAM, and if you lay out the circuit right, it can be super fast and you can get a lot of bandwidth out of it. I guess that is what I mean by fast. So it does that. It's the same chip that we use on the DLD, so it has the DLD, well, it records at a slightly different resolution, but there's like 6 minutes of record time on that chip, so it has a really big buffer. Of course, that's split between a record channel stereo and also 2 play channels, which it uses. So. But yeah, and also SD card technologies improved a lot since they're used in cameras, and now like we need 4K cameras and things like that. So we need tons of data pumping in cards. So these SD cards now, the manufacturers have made them super fast. So yeah, we're just able to take advantage of some of the fast technology, new technologies that are a lot faster. And the DLD was our last product, and we worked really hard to get a low noise circuit for that, because every little buzz and everything gets amplified because it repeats, right? It's like, this is a long looping delay, so like, yeah, you hear a noise after like 6 minutes of it looping, you're just like, okay, this thing's too noisy. So we had to keep working on it until we figured out how to get a low noise. So that same topology, the same circuit topology is transferred over here to the sampler, the same chip. So yeah, so we used a lot of the same things we'd already developed. So.
Well, it sounds like, that's funny you say that, because when I first started playing with it, I was like, this sounds as clear as the dual looping delay. So
yeah, it's
same technology.
Well, and that's the thing, is like a lot of delays, they do color your sound, and that's actually a thing people want sometimes. Like
right.
They want, so, but we, with the DLD, we wanted it to be just pure, crystal clear, like a delay, like color your sound with whatever effects you have, whatever you want to do, but just make it crystal clear, which actually ended up making it really hard, because the reason a lot of delays color things is because all these chips, and they do think that compression, some use compression or companders, and then some use, they're recording at 12 bits or something, and like, or the sample rate is really low, or there's like this noise, this high pitched noise, so they have to like roll it off. That gives it its characteristic sound, but it's all these things that engineers end up having to do because they don't want to, or they can't, or the project doesn't have the budget for it, making it really full range in very low noise. So it's harder to make something sound like there's nothing there. So, but that's what we're going for. Yeah, I don't know.
Any questions?
More questions?
Yeah. When you're using CV, so length, start, position, sample, what range do they have? So I mean, if I'm at unity gain on length, is that full length file? Is it just 0 to 100% length?
Yeah, it's 0 to 100% length. Well, it's like 8 milliseconds to full length. There's 0 to 5. Yes, these 3 jacks are 0 to 5. There's also the 1 volt per octave jack, which is +5 to -5, and so it's 5 octaves up, 5 octaves down. But there's a limit. It only goes 4.3 octaves up total, because it combines with the pitch knob. So if you turn the pitch knob down a little, you could go 5 octaves up from there. But that is that's a hardware, or that's a hard set limit we get into the software because of the latency with large files. So.
And the sample is just the 1 to 10 within the currently selected bank?
Yeah, and it ends up being, so say I've used a keyboard or something, or a sequencer with like 12 tone type outputs on it, it's like octaves and fifths basically. It'd be like D, A, D0, A0, or A1, D1, A2 would be the sample selection. Now, because if you think 5 octaves divided by 10, it's like half an octave, so it's octaves and fifths roughly. So yeah, so you can play keyboard into this, and then start position and length are continuous. And of course, if you have like a 5-minute sample, start position's super sensitive, and it's actually hard to like nail a spot. But then you can, if you need to, you can use the slicing thing I was showing to really pick exactly what you want it. So yeah, most of the time you're like running a triangle wave into start position. You're usually just kind of picking something different, not so like specific thing. And then the revert, it has an end out also, which you can use on top of that too. Like, well, if I patch into play, it'll just loop. That's it. But I can patch it in reverse, and it'll play forward and then backwards. I think I turned this channel down. Oh, that's that weird one I recorded before. like forward, backward thing. So if I end out and reverse, or one channel trigger another, it's kind of cool.
Is it now sending a gate? That's the length of the.
It's not the gate. It's just a trigger. Yeah.
It's just a trigger.
Yeah. That was the thing I thought about system mode. Oh, there's system mode. Hold on all the buttons, but the bank buttons, and it goes into system mode where you can set some advanced parameters. One of them I thought about making like gate length or a gate, like 50% gate of the sample length or something, but I'm actually not sure like what I would patch that into. Because you could take the end out and run into a QCD or an RC or any clock thing, and you get a clock from your loop length, and then you can divide it and multiply it. So kind of like, well, I already have that. I'm not sure, but I don't know. So this I have to consult the manual for because I just changed them, and or just added some new features. But we have, I held down these buttons to go into system mode, so I can record. I can do 24-bit or 16-bit here. I can go, let's see, yeah, this is the new version. Here I can change the behavior of the play button when length is at full. So by default, length is, with length at full, you hit play, it plays the whole sample. If you hit play again, it'll just stop. The idea is that if you have a really long sample that you probably didn't want to play the whole thing, or you might want to, but if you hit play again, it's probably because you want to stop it. So you can turn that off. And when this is off, it's red for off. It goes, every time you hit play, it just re-triggers it, which is what it does normally when you don't have length at all, but when length is at all, then it's, yeah, it just toggles that behavior. Pretty subtle, but there's a use for both ways. On this side, we have the behavior that of what happens when you are playing a sample and you turn the sample knob, or you apply a sample CV. So in one case, there's a really useful patch you can do where you're looping samples, and then you only want it to change samples when it finishes the loop, because you don't want sharp transitions, but you don't necessarily want to time your transitions on the sample CV jack with. But whatever happens, you don't want it to change in the middle of a measure of a bar or whatever. So you can set that where it's only going to read the samples jack and knob. It's only going to update it when it finishes a loop, or when you hit the start button. So if you play a sample and then you turn the knob, it's going to be, it's not going to do anything when you turn the knob. And the next time you hit start button, it'll play the new position. Or you can set it so that it changes the sample immediately when you turn it. So if you just hit play and then you turn the knob, it's going to stop the sample right away. So that's kind of nice, because then if you didn't like the one you just played, you can just spin the sample knob that's all right here and just spin right off it and stop it. If you were looping, it's just going to it's just going to loop the next, it's going to immediately jump to the next sample that you just spun to. So if you run sample CVN, it just kind of like scrubs your whole bank. If you run a triangle into sample CV, it just like scrubs your whole bank. It's kind of cool. And then there's a hybrid mode, which I think is the blue, where it has one behavior when you have looping on, and the other behavior when you're not looping. So you can do the scrub if looping's on. You can scrub your whole bank if looping's on, but if you're not looping, then it just stops as soon as you turn the knob. So you get both, and you toggle it by whether you're looping or not. So it's subtle, but it actually has a big impact on how you play it if you're playing it live. So, and then that's a system feature. And yeah, there's more we will add. There's still some buttons that don't have toggles yet. So as we're updating the firmware more, that'll go in there. Yeah, I like the blue one. The green one always throws, or the red one always throws it up. And then you can hit save. The settings are saved on the card in a file called settings, and it's like you can edit the file with the text editor too. Oh, you can also edit the index file with the text editor too. It's a little advanced. We don't have a full manual for doing that, but it just lists your slots and the file names, and you can edit the file name paths and stuff. It's if you do it, you should back it up first, because I mean nothing really bad is going to happen, but you might lose the positions of all your files if it's mangled. But you could quickly, or change the whole folder name, or if you change the folder name, you didn't want to reassign them, you could just change it in the text file too. So it's there, but we don't fully document it because support can be tough. Like if you code, or if you're used to like syntax specific languages or something, you'd be totally fine. But if you're like not used to every space and period and comma matters, then it might be frustrating. So we don't do that. Audio bootloader, and yeah. That is the main. Those are the main features I wanted to cover. But yeah, are there any more questions?
Seems pretty well-rounded. It's got a lot of features.
Yeah, we've been working on it for 3 years. So, of course, came out with the DLD, dual looping delay, and the spectral multiband resonator in that 3-year period. So I worked on it and then worked on another project, released that product, worked on sample a little more. Like, I need to figure out low noise stuff in the meantime, make a delay, and then come back to it. So it's been on and off, but yeah, through that whole 3 years, I've had a sampler. I've had my own, but I played on. So I've had, a lot of time to figure out like what do you really want it to do, what do you not need it to do, what can you do with other modules without, and it stayed 20 HP the whole time. Amazingly, it hasn't grown in size. I got smaller buttons to fit more things in, but it hasn't grown, which is kind of amazing because feature creep's real. So, yeah.
Well, I'd like to congratulate you on it because it's amazing. And thank you for coming today and talking with us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Cool.
What's the retail?
It's $450. Yeah, $450. I do have other things here. I mean, we're not going to demo them, but this one you can see on the screen. The Tapographic Delay is coming out this end of November, beginning of December, and it's our next thing. It's like a big reverby type, convolution type delay.
Could we hear it? Maybe,
You
or
can totally hear it.
maybe slide the rack over a little bit so we
Yeah,
can see
totally.
it right in the middle.
Okay.
All right, that's perfect.
Yeah, tap over. Turn. It's stereo. It's a mono in, stereo out. We go to. Okay. So. Oh, I have to plug into the input jack. Okay. So this is on dry. You feed it. So that's the dry signal, and then it's up to 31 echoes or delays taps, and each one is each tap can run through a resonator, a VCA, or a low pass filter, and you set the level of the VCA. Well, it's not really VCA, but through an amplitude modulation, you set the amplitude, the low pass cutoff, or the frequency of the band pass filter, the resonator, with each tap. So here's. Those are some band pass filters there. So this is a pattern of taps. We call it topography. So whatever I feed into it, it's going to apply that tap to. I can change the time of it. Right. I can also add some feedback. Yeah, it's kind of like, but then you can change, whatever. So there's banks, but then I meant to just show, you can change like each of these 6 are a different tap pattern. So that's the one I was just in, so I can go to another one. Carry the whole thing. You can also repeat and then loop the input back in so you don't have to keep going. Modulation applies LFOs to each tap moving independently. So you get a left click. And then you can change topographies and morph sets the fade crossfade time when you change topography. So I have a higher morph that'll slowly fade from that one to this one. This one's a much more sparse topography. But there it is. So back to another one. So, okay, and I'm just showing how to play it, but you create topographies with this button, or this button. FSR pad. It's a velocity sensitive pad. So if I wanted to clear this out, I can create my own here. And it's velocity sensitive. So I just tapped in, and there it goes. That's my echo pattern. I can assign those, depending on this switch, I can assign these to different resonator or a low pass filter or the amplitude, depending on how hard I hit would be the pitch. Oh, I'm on off. Sorry. This is the old faceplate. These two off and whatever. We switched some things around. So there you go. There's some of the resonator hits. Let me clear this. I'll start another one. So soft and hard. Anyways, you can create your thing. I want a faster one. And then you can save it, and then you can still transition. There's a sequencer mode. You can sequence. Sequence between my taps in sequencer mode, and then you can clock it. You can sync to an external clock, and you got a sequence also. But it makes it makes a lot of space filling. It's a delay, but it makes a lot of space filling sounds because it's 30 round delay taps, which are like echoes or reflections in a room. So that's the Tapographic Delay. Pretty cool. Yeah. That's next. That's the next one from this.
Thanks again.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you offer financing on your modules or anything like that?